Not really too snappy. This is kind of hard to actuate.
Yeah. Yep.
Hey YouTube, it's Andy. Today I'm bringing you the Smith & Wesson M&P 9 Shield versus the Walther PPS Classic. Both of these firearms are excellent concealed carry choices. They're both single stack 9mm, both with 7-round single stack mags and 8-round magazines. The M&P Shield is made in America and the Walther PPS is made in Germany. This pistol I really do love. I've carried it a lot. The Smith & Wesson Shield is on loan from a buddy of mine. Both pistols are very reasonably priced. I bought this Walther PPS about 7 years ago for around $430. The Smith & Wesson Shield came out a couple years later, and when it first came out, it was around $450. Now it's down to about $250 to $350. Great blue collar gun options, black polymer options. I really do actually like the look of both of these pistols. Both of them are kind of in direct contrast. The Smith & Wesson Shield has more of an organic type of smoothed over look to it, while as the Walther PPS has kind of like a hard edge industrial type look to it. My good friend says that it reminds him of Terminator for some reason, so I kind of see that. Yeah, this to me always just seemed more organic, even with like the fish scale look. I've always loved the cutouts on the slide. So the magazine for the Smith & Wesson M&P is more of an aluminum type lighter magazine, but I like how it has the witness holes numbered. Now the Walther PPS magazine is a lot heavier, and it's actually a true single stack, but it doesn't have the numbered witness holes. These are both the 8-round magazine options. But you see how this is a true single stack, whereas this is more of a staggered. The 7-round magazines are in the pistols right now. You notice on the Smith & Wesson Shield how it has the American style push button release with a little bit of rough texture there. Whereas the Walther PPS has the European/German style with the toggle down lever type release. The great part about the toggle release is it is ambidextrous and you can reach it from either side. You can use your thumb or you can use your index finger or middle finger on the other side. Also, you won't have to worry about accidentally engaging it like you can on the American style, where if it is in your pocket or you bump up against something, the mag can be pushed out. Both grips really do feel amazing. I know this kind of looks rough, but it's these weird soft like zigzags that are great for as your fingers grab directionally that way. It really does feel abrasive. These little dots are just enough to be smooth, but yet still grab pretty decently. the M&P, it just literally feels like, I don't know, just like rhino skin or something, if you think about it. It's not abrasive though, it's smooth. The Walther PPS does come in a nice hard plastic case, and you actually do get a second replaceable back strap for larger hands. You can remove this one by just pushing it on this, and this back part comes out. This also makes the trigger dead. So it's also another safety mechanism until you put the back strap back on there. The Smith & Wesson M&P will come in a cardboard box. The slide serrations on the Walther PPS are a little bit longer, which I like. I don't think they're as grippy, but I think they're decent. And the fact that you have more of them. Right here on the shield, it's kind of shorter, but they are a little bit more grippy, I'd have to say. Another thing that I want to make mention of, both of the chambers have witness windows. When you chamber around, you can actually see a little bit of brass through right here, and I love that feature on them. Right here on the Walther PPS, you have more of a cutout, and it's flared right here just for better ejection. Now the M&P shield, it's pretty much kind of reminds me of a Glock. It's cut out all the way to the side there. I've never had any ejection problems with either one. The rear sights on both of the pistols can be loosened with a screw and drifted left or right for windage. Now the front sights on the Smith & Wesson, you have a dovetail, which is better for replacement sights. There's way more sight options. This one has a screw on the inside. So you're going to have a lot more aftermarket sight support for the Smith & Wesson. However, the sights that come standard with it, I don't like how there's no ledge there. So if you did become handicapped in some way and you couldn't use the left hand to rack the slide, you wouldn't be able to rack this off of a tabletop, a tree stump, a boot, your belt. However, on this Walther, you may be able to if you really hunker down on it and use the edge of it. Both pistols have really good thick extractors that I feel like won't fail for a very long time, very high round count. One thing that I do love about the Smith & Wesson though, and I do prefer this on my carry guns, is a safety. A flip up 1911 style safety that you just reach out as you draw your pistol, you just put your thumb down and click it off. I do think having a safety is a great thing. Just one more layer of safety that's great. Now one thing that we did notice at the range was, and I don't know if this is just with the mag in it, but this thing is very hard to actuate down. There's not a good shelf on it. Like right now, I'm pushing really hard. You really have to push hard. And I don't like that about it. However, on the Walther, it's very easy to disengage and run that slide home. Another thing that I like about the Walther is I like to wrap my finger around here. It's more flat right here, and there's a little indentation. Also, let's make mention of this, even though some people may think that this is pointless, it's nice to have that extra option to put a little lighter laser on it. Whereas the M&P, it has a rounded off trigger guard, which is kind of, you can still put your finger there while you're shooting, but it may slide down easier, and there is actually no rail on here. The Walther is unique in the fact that with the striker indicator, as you pull the trigger, it comes back. And that's almost like another safety. Like when you go to reholster it, you can put your thumb there, almost like a hammer. So you can see it come back and then disappear. It's gone now. And even now, I'm holding in the reset. Look, I'm going to let the trigger out. It also lets that back in there. It's a very unique, nice striker indicator. The M&P does not come standard with a striker indicator. The finish on the Walther PPS is a Tenifer, and the finish on the M&P shield is an Armor Knight. Both pistols have really good triggers. Smith & Wesson M&P, it does have a hinged trigger, which is a little bit, you have to articulate it, and it does have a spongier feeling because there's a transfer bar in there. So you get to a wall, quick snap. It does have a good break on it, and then here's the reset. Has a spongy little reset, but it's short. I really do enjoy this trigger. I didn't know if I'd like it. One downside is
is if you grab it up here though, you can't actuate it. But if you pull hard enough, you'll eventually go down, and so it is somewhat fail-safe. Walther PPS trigger. Very little take up, clear wall, good snap, good break. Reset's pretty short too. Maybe just a little bit shorter of a reset. Something to consider when looking for a carry gun is muzzle touch off. If you had to push this up against an intruder, since it has a flat front, you could still push it all the way up against them and still pull the trigger. However, on the Smith & Wesson Shield, it does not have a completely flat front, and the slide can be knocked out of battery, therefore disabling the trigger. If you push this up against somebody hard enough, it's a dead trigger. You can see how the back of the slide's back. Touching on the magazines one last time, the thing that I don't like about the Smith & Wesson is, since it is stagger stacked, these witness holes, it's kind of almost hard to see how many rounds are in there. While as with the Walther, you can always see how many rounds are in there. You see how it somewhat looks like empty holes. I just don't like that. You really need good lighting to see. Disassembly of both firearms is really easy. So you just want to make sure that there's no mag. This is how you disassemble the Smith & Wesson. Put the slide release up. Now it's time you can turn this down. It's a little bit hard to turn down, just a really tight spring in there. You actually release it from there, but then you actually have to pull the trigger to totally get it off the rails. But it's a very easy disassembly, quick in the field. It has a great dual recoil spring that's captured, and it's very tight. I think there's more poundage on this than in there. But it's a very simple inside slide. No machining marks that I can see. A wonderful finish. I feel like this finish really holds up well. The barrel is strong as well, and I almost think there's a little bit thicker sidewalls on here than the Walther. Good feed ramp. It's dirty right now because we just shot it, but good rifling. The barrel is just maybe a 1/16 of an inch, maybe like an 1/8 of an inch shorter than the Walther, just ever so slightly shorter. Now, to me, the disassembly of the Walther PPS is a little bit easier just because I'm used to guns like Glock. You do have to pull the trigger, and then you just take the slide back about 1/8 of an inch or so, like that. Pull down on these two tabs. There's one on each side, right there in the middle, and then it just comes off just like a Glock. See, it also has the dual captured recoil spring assembly. And let's compare the barrels. Yeah, see, I feel like this barrel's a little bit lighter. And they do say to not shoot too many plus P's through this. Smith & Wesson on the left here. I do think that it's got a little bit thicker metal, not by much, but you can also see lengthwise the Walther is just a little bit longer here on the right. But they are both amazing guns. Bottom frames are great. So we do have the Smith & Wesson on the right here. Now see how the Walther has full length guide rail here, and then pretty substantial rails right here. That really aids to accuracy. I'm a firm believer in that. Whereas this is more like Glock style. You got the guide rails right here, and then little smaller ones in the back. Now, both slide to frame fit is wonderful on these pistols, and there's no wobble slide to frame. And here's a comparison of the recoil reduction spring assemblies. The right here is the Smith & Wesson M&P, and on the left we have the Walther.
After reviewing both pistols, my friend and I both agreed that the Walther PPS had a better trigger, was more accurate, and more user-friendly, and better recoil impulse.
So what's your first impression?
I like the slide better. I like the trigger better. I'm still not used to the mag release. You see me fumble with that, but
Yeah.
it's just because I'm used to old school mag releases. But it feels better to me. However, I like the trigger better. I still move it, as you can see. Get that straight.